with Wells Fargo Bank. Live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm here for Digital Science Expo. I was asked to speak, but I think this is my third or fourth year in a row coming, and kind of get something new out of it every single year. So it's good to be back. Well, we have about 6,200 stores. We call our branches stores. So we have 6,200 stores that that's our network. Well, that's our distribution. We have about 5,000 stores that get digital signage, and we have two distribution systems right now. One is largely satellite, so we have about 5,000 stores on satellite. What we really want to get to is where we are with about 150 stores or so, which is the IP system, meaning targeted to every single screen. Ultimately, the goal here is to get the regions the ability to put up some of their own messaging. So if they have a promotion in one small area, so Duluth, Georgia, for example, you want to put up some promotions in 5 stores, they'll be able to do that. If they want to talk about what they're doing in the community, if they're supporting something, if they're helping with an event, things like that, where at an enterprise level, it'd just be very cumbersome for us to do that with 6,200 stores. The regions themselves will be able to create their own messaging, and that's eventually where we want to be. And we're making small steps, and hopefully in the next couple of years we'll make very big strides to fulfilling that vision. The retail part is just one component of digital signage for us. If you talk to some of my other partners, they'll tell you that we have the employee-facing network as well. We also have some other installations. Again, as digital signage is becoming more and more prevalent, we're putting up new buildings, so we're thinking about wayfinding digitally in these buildings. So now you're thinking of corporate application, not just retail, not just employee. We're very big into the environment, so we're putting up sustainability walls, and in fact, we were able to collapse the design of a wall from about 5 or 6 printed panels, and we went down to, I think, a single screen and a single printed panel, where there were cost savings to that, plus the content's fresh and can be generated over and over again. We can have folks on our green team from different parts of the country put up their own messages to these sustainability walls. So again, we're finding more and more application throughout the company for digital signage. I think the biggest challenge for us right now is scale. So again, even though we're in 5,000 stores, we're still missing maybe 1,300, 1,200 stores, right? There's places that we simply can't put satellite, and that's fine. Again, we want to move to that targeted system. But scaling that out from the 150 stores that we have it in now to 6,200 stores, there's a price tag associated with that. And there's a lot of labor, there's a lot of time. So even if we could do 1,200 stores a year, that might take 5 years to fulfill that vision of getting the targeted system. And I think 1,200 stores a year, that's pretty aggressive. That's one of our biggest challenges right now is scaling things out. I think the next part is really just the education to the regions. Here's a new tool for you. You've asked for this. Now we have to kind of train them and get them to use it. So I think making the tools easy to use, that interface easy to use, something that is just one more small portion of their day. We think about it all the time. It's something that's, this is all we do and we live from a corporate level is digital signage. But think about a marketing manager that has an event to go to and set up, and think about, the other in-store promotions that they're working on and all the other things that this is just one sliver out of their day. So we have to make it really easy for them to use this tool. And so that's, scale and then usability, I think, are the two biggest things that we're challenged with right now. Being that we're so large and being that there are so many facets to digital signage, a lot of players in the organization get a piece of digital signage, so to speak. So when we started installing the IP system, that targeted signage, we had to go through a lot of reviews around security and network security, and if somebody stole a player, would there be customer information on it? Is the information going to travel from our headquarters to that player? It's going to be on our network, and now we have another endpoint for that network. Can somebody come in and somehow hack in through our digital signage to get customer information? So again, being a bank, we're super concerned about the customer, right? And you think about all the credit card fraud going on right now. The last thing we want to do is say that digital signage could be responsible for some type of hack or break-in. From that perspective, and that's just one tiny thing that we've learned, right? We work really well with EUC, end user computing, and we've gotten over that hurdle. They understand what we're about. We understand what their concerns are, so we have that communication. But initially, that was a really big hill to get over. We still have to work with creative partners. We have to work with our distribution partners. We still have to work with vendors for hardware, for software. So it's so much more complex, not just from an external vendor purchasing perspective, but then also, again, the internal perspective. And there's just so many channels and people and partners involved. It'd be about a dictionary full of names. So yeah, it's pretty thick. We're a bank, so everybody assumes that we have huge budgets, and we do, but when you think about the scale that we're at, it's probably on par with a smaller local bank, right? So it's not like we have gobs and gobs of money to throw at every single problem. I think that our executives, they get it and they understand what's going on, at least from a holistic technology perspective. In fact, John Stumpf, our CEO, has said before, he has a 2020 vision. And in 2020, we're much more digital. And I don't think he means just digital signage, but I think he means that that's a part of it. So are we using mobile devices to communicate with our customers when they come in store? He had mentioned even one point facial recognition. I think he had gone to a hotel somewhere and or maybe one of his direct reports had gone to a hotel somewhere, and they were shocked when they walked up and they immediately knew who this person was, and they started checking them in already, and this person hadn't given them any form of identification, but from facial recognition. And so John Stumpf, he embraces that, which is great. How does that trickle down to where I sit? I don't think that there's a full understanding as to what needs to be done to get to that point and fulfill that vision, but at least those conversations are happening now. And we're a very traditional company, and we're somewhat slow to move, but we've been around for over 160 years, so there's probably some benefit to the way that we operate. I think that we're getting more and more funding. I think that we're realizing that a lot of the infrastructure, once that's laid out and once we get that targeted network into all of our stores, we can do so much more in there besides just digital signage. We can start to experiment with beacons. We can start to do the targeting that we want to do. We can start to do interactive displays. So that's really what we're trying to do now, is just partner with our distribution folks and make sure that we can get that infrastructure laid. After that, I think things are really going to start to take off. I think that the scale of what goes on here and all of the vendors that are here, for sure, that's hard to beat. It's all in one spot. But I also think that the networking opportunities that are here and having some nice side conversations, hallway conversations, those are really hard to have elsewhere, right? You can really only have that here because this is where everything's happening. And then I also think that the learning sessions that you guys put together, those are really valuable. You might pull a nugget here, a nugget there, and in fact, I think a great example is last year we were watching some folks talking about the Adidas experience that had been put together, and we were like, wow, that's something we'd really like to try. So we pulled some nuggets from that. We got some names and numbers. We've been having conversations around that. So I think it can help. If you start to focus on what your needs might be and what technology is offered here, and take advantage of those opportunities, I think that you can really learn a lot, and you can apply things from different industries and different verticals into your own industry too. So I think that's what we're getting out of this. What I'll be talking about more is around how the face of retail is starting to change, what we're seeing in retail and in banking, and how we're trying to adapt to that as well. And it really talks about how customer need is really been the same for years and years and years. Everybody needs to go get food, or everybody needs to get clothes. The way that they're doing that is a lot different. Retailing will never ever go away. You're always going to have retail doors open. That said, a lot of times people are buying online, or they're buying through mobile. They may not be going into the retail store to make that final purchase. So what do we need to do as a retailer to make that environment a little bit more conducive and more inviting? And then what can you do in that environment that you're not doing elsewhere? So a sale is one thing, but you're getting a sale online. What are we doing in that store, whether it's from a digital perspective or from a service perspective, to help serve the customers the way that they want to be served? We know that millennials are coming up. I mean, this is nothing new, right? Everybody knows that millennials are like the next generation, that they operate differently. I think that anybody 45, 50 plus is probably a heavy branch user. So they may come in once a month, they may come in twice a month. Like you're talking about, your mother, she may be there, 3-4 times a month. It's just how she banks, right? But I think as technology is easier to use, people are more prone to not go into the branch. We get that, we understand that. So when we start to add digital signage, we do know that this is working from a customer experience perspective. Now, they're not coming in just because of the digital signage, but we know that we have more opportunity to communicate with that customer. So as opposed to our print signage, which we have plenty of, and we still intend to use that for years and years and years, we know that can only get one message every 3-4 months. With digital signage, we're getting one message every 15 to 25 seconds. So it's much more dynamic. We know that it's more engaging. We know that customers watch that longer than they would ever watch a poster. So I think that from a demographic perspective, we're probably talking anywhere from 23, 25, probably up to 65, 70. So I'd say it's a pretty wide range. But again, to your point, who's actually coming into the branch now? It's really a lot of 50, 55 plus who are the heavy users. What we're really trying to do is reinvent the branch environment so that 55 and below, we're giving them that reason to come in, and we're taking steps towards that. The digital signage industry has arrived.